Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi, kids. Welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. That is Andrew. I'm Randy, and you still got your shirt on.
I know. I actually wore two shirts today because
he's the reverse tarps off.
Yeah, I was just getting a little chilly this morning.
Coming up, the Cardinals make it even more fun at the ballpark. The Canadiens are on their way to the NHL's conference semifinals, and we're going to talk to former Cardinal Matt Adams in just a few minutes. But first, it's time for Quick Hits, and they're sponsored by St. Luke's. And with a chaotic start to the 2026 season, those over at ESPN believe we're going to see a surprise team make a run to the postseason. And one of the teams that looks like it has a serious chance is your St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals have surprisingly jumped to a 27-19 record after an offseason that moved veterans like Nolan Arenado and Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras, leaning instead on a young core led by Jordan Walker and J.J. Weatherholt. Walker is playing like an MVP candidate, and the team's up-the-middle defense has been a strength. But Dave Schoenfield of ESPN writes, quote, "Concerns remain about sustainability due to the league's worst pitcher strikeout rate and a strong record in one-run games that's unlikely to last," unquote. They've already shown they can compete with top teams, but are still labeled as, quote, "not a real contender." And our friend Tamar Scher reports on X that the Cardinals will get their fan club back because the Stephen F. Austin baseball team will be back at Busch Stadium on Tuesday night. But back to Dave Schoenfield for a bit. And he's a smart guy. He's a smart baseball guy. But as we've mentioned here on the show, since when did you have to strike people out to get people out? Mm-hmm. Because the Cardinals have the 10th best starters ERA in the game, and they have the fewest strikeouts among starters in the game. So at some point, Dave's going to have to start looking at production and winning rather than what he expects to happen.
Well, and also mentioned in the 2023 World Series, the Rangers and D-backs were the two teams representing the AL and the NL. Both of those teams had a bottom 10 pitcher strikeout rate. So it's proven that you can still get to the World Series. In fact, winning a World Series is possible when you don't have a strong strikeout rate. Now, what really kind of pushed me back with this, Randy, is, and I'm cool with it, with them labeling the Cardinals as not a real contender. I believe everybody in St. Louis is cool with saying that out loud. But the White Sox and Pirates were both listed as real playoff contenders.
Yeah, that's just stupid. That's just trying to get clicks. So that happens. By the way, did you see what happened in Tampa on Monday night?
I did not.
Reinforcements on the way. Does anything say Florida more than what's going on out there in left field?
And so they get into a section, and there you go.
How about that? That's pretty cool. That's really fun to watch. And it's cool that it started still in St. Louis. Like, you can point to, in 2026, season ends, let's say Tarps off, goes to a bunch of different ballparks, you can always point back to, well, the Cardinals were the first place that this happened.
Pretty cool. All right, let's talk about some hockey. Game 7, the Montreal Canadiens are on their way to the NHL's Eastern Conference Finals. Monday night, they went the distance, eliminating Buffalo in overtime of Game 7 on an Alex Newhook goal. Heartbreaking for the Sabres, who had ended the NHL's longest playoff drought. But Montreal hasn't been to the finals in a full season since 1993, and they're 4 wins away from doing that. Now, it's going to be an uphill climb against the Carolina Hurricanes, but this is a Montreal team that has had some rough years. They've gone through the rebuild, and here they are within 4 wins of making it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, just have fun with Carolina. Carolina, oh my goodness. They swept in both series so far. They've only played 8 games. They've had a ton of time to rest. I know that this is one of the youngest teams in hockey, and they should be able to bounce back. But this is also a group that has gone 14 total games, and 5 of those games have gone to overtime to add to it. So the legs won't be as fresh as they will in Carolina.
And in the NBA, what a Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Spurs and the Thunder. Went to double overtime, and Victor Wembanyama played a career high 49 minutes. He scored 41 points, had 24 rebounds, 41 and 24. Those are Wilt Chamberlain numbers with 3 blocks and 3 assists to boot. Wemby was unreal, and the Spurs knocked off the defending champion OKC Thunder 122-115, the first loss for Oklahoma City in these playoffs.
How about that shot, too, from about 60 feet away to tie the game before the timeout?
Wemby looked like Steph Curry.
Yeah, you know, it almost like he was throwing up just a prayer. Like, if this goes in, we have a chance chance if it doesn't, we're going to lose. That was one of those shots, and you were only down 3 points, yet Wemby splashes it home and ties the game. He's a phenomenal player, and he did that all without De'Aaron Fox on the floor. We should mention that, too. On the other side, though, Alex Caruso, he might be one of the greatest role players I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's like his era's Robert Horry. And this will be a great series. Oklahoma City had plenty of opportunities to win it. They didn't, but now they'll just try to get back to San Antonio with the series even at a game apiece. The Super Bowl is going to be played in the new stadium in Nashville in 2030. Get a new stadium, host the Super Bowl, unless you're Buffalo. Nashville will be a great Super Bowl city, but the average high temperature is 53 degrees in February. With LA and Vegas and New Orleans and Miami already in the rotation, is a one-shot deal for Nashville a possibility, or could they possibly get more? I kind of think the NFL, as much as they like this stadium and as much as they will like Nashville, I don't think that they will do multiple Super Bowls in Nashville, Tennessee.
Is it indoors or is it fully outdoor?
Oh, it's indoor.
It's totally indoor.
Yep.
Okay, so this is what
Trying to get Final Fours and stuff.
Right, so this is what I'll first say. The NFL wants to guarantee one thing and one thing only, and that is entertainment. So unless you can provide a place where entertainment is found, like Nashville, in this case now, I can see them hosting more than one Super Bowl. But if you look back at outdoor games and say MetLife Stadium in 2014 was the last one I can remember in the last 30 years that was a cold environment and also outdoors. I don't see that being as reasonable because you're not going to get as high scoring of football, and you wonder about temperatures.
You're making
and
a mistake here. You're talking about football. Football doesn't matter in a Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl week. It's rich people wanting to go to a place where they can play golf and be entertained and be outdoors during the day in February. The football part of it doesn't matter. They can play a football game in the cold and the snow. Those get high ratings. But the part that matters for the National Football League is getting to a place where rich people will want to come.
And it's a smart way to look at that too, because I didn't think about the whole Super Bowl week, but I still believe that the football game needs to be entertaining. There have been so many Super Bowls that have become just background to a lot of people because they're not watching a 10-7 Rams-Patriots Super Bowl anymore because it's not as entertaining.
But the highest rated playoff games in the last decade plus have been snow games. So you can play a game outdoors, but the problem is having people fly in and have to sit in their hotel room all day if you're being in a cold weather site. Let's talk some women's basketball. If Caitlin Clark is healthy, is there anyone in the WNBA that can stop her? Another day, another record for Caitlin, who is now the WNBA's all-time leader in 20-point, 10-assist games. She had 21 points and 10 assists on Sunday and now has 12 20-10 games in just 57 career appearances, and it's only her third year. But she's got the all-time record in the WNBA for 2010s.
Yeah, she's one of the best to ever play the game, and she will be going down in history as probably the most notable women's basketball player to play the game. Now, there's so many other great players that have come before. Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, you have Sue Bird, like players like that, but there's only one Caitlin Clark, and there's only one person that's been able to elevate the game of basketball, and that's Caitlin. But aside from what she's able to do for the game, what she's been able to do on the floor is what's really interesting, because there have been so many instances where you look at a player that hasn't been playing often, they step back in and it takes them a little bit of time to catch up and start putting up the numbers that you're seeing with Caitlin. In just 57 career games, and she's able to bounce back like that, that puts her in the top 1% of all women's basketball players.
And now her team is winning because her goal with her multi-talents is to make everybody around her better. She's more proud of the 10 assists than she is the 20 points. She says, I want to lift the people around me. She wants to be a true point guard, and she is being that. And if she stays healthy all season long, I have to believe that the Fever will be in at least the hunt for the WNBA title.
Yeah, you won't hear me arguing that. I think the WNBA also needs Caitlin Clark going the distance in the playoffs.
Can you imagine those TV ratings? Those would be great. A little hockey here. This is unbelievable. Flyers fanatics, and maybe they aren't the most knowledgeable, but they're involved and invested in their team. Well, they embrace the name Fanatics after creating a mock trade with the Blues, a Who Says No deal that had us laughing out loud so hard we have to share it. Okay, so what it had was the Flyers' Noah Cates, Jet Lachenko, who was the 13th overall pick in 2024, 30-year-old Rasmus Ristolainen, and 2 first-rounders to the Blues for Robert Thomas and Philip Broberg. 26-year-old Robert Thomas and 24-year-old Philip Broberg, who are both under contract for the long term and are the Blues' number 1 forward and number 1 defenseman. So why would the rebuilding Blues want to do this and get older?
And it's not even that the Blues are rebuilding. This trade is saying that they are rebuilding. But the Blues are in a position right now where they're not the Vancouver Canucks. They are in a point where they might be, on the outside looking in come the playoffs, but they're still a borderline playoff team. They don't need to get rid of their two best players. And look, these are good players. Ristolainen's a good player. Luchenko being a 13th overall pick, good player. But they aren't Robert Thomas Broberg worthy. This just doesn't make sense for either side.
No, and if the Blues have so many prospects now that they should take their 3 first-rounders and try to move up in the draft. That's how many players the Blues have. They don't need quantity. What they need now is real quality. And they need that superstar player. And I just, hey, there's got to be a dumbest fan out there. And unfortunately, he also has access to the internet.
Yeah, this is, again, it made us laugh out loud. We had to share it.
Yeah, amazing. Those are your quick hits here in the fight, and they are brought to you by St. Luke's. Top-notch doctors in everything from heart health to orthopedics and more. Visit stlukes-stl.com today. Later in the show, a little risky business. We're going to come up with a bet for you. But coming up next, our buddy Matt Adams will join us to talk Redbird baseball. We'll find out if he would ever do Tarps off and find out what he thinks of the current Cardinals next in the fight. There he is. How you doing, man?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Matt.
It's all good. Did you hear what I said going into the break?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
So we expect you to start this interview with your shirt off, actually.
No, we would lose followers if that was the case.
Yeah, really. You were there for a long time. I don't ever remember any organic fan thing like this. Do you? It's
No.
Yeah.
No, the only one, and we can talk about it on the show, but the only one that I remember is not anything with the Cardinals, but the Mets had that 7-line.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Threw out in right center, they dressed in all orange.
Yeah.
That was that was really cool.
Let's definitely talk about that.
We'll do it next.
Yeah.
We always enjoy having former Cardinal Matt Adams, who is a friend of the show, on The Fight. And there he is, right there. That is the great Matt Adams. How you doing?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Always good to have you with us. And we got to start with Tarps off because it has become a revelation. They're doing it in Tampa now. Do you ever remember anything organic, as long as you played, that happened like this, where fans just really got into something and kind of increased the energy?
Yeah, not at Busch. From what I remember, all my years with the Cardinals at Busch, the place was packed. So the energy was through the roof. It was, that was organic in itself. Just 45, 50,000 people on a nightly basis coming in, filling that place. That was the energy that we needed. But to see the Tarps Off crew doing their thing out in the outfield bleachers, and then Ollie bringing them down into the clubhouse and celebrating after a win with the boys in the clubhouse. That was awesome.
Now, how do you feel about it being a baseball team from the state of Texas? That has to feel pretty good in your mind.
Yeah, the thing I would say about that is baseball's big in Texas. So for them to be able to, come to Busch Stadium and do their thing, bring the energy, bring the vibes, get the place rocking. The young team fed off that, and it was huge. I love it. I think Ollie did a great job embracing it, and the young core in that clubhouse, they're feeding off of it. So if they want to keep coming back every home game, I think we would definitely welcome that back.
Absolutely. Matt, the Cardinals are hitting for a lot more power than most of us thought they would. 7th in the league in homers. Why do you think that is? You're a guy who knows hitting. You're watching it happen. Why do you think they're hitting more home runs than we thought they would?
Yeah, I think they're not missing their pitches like they were the past few years. I think they're getting mistakes out over the big part of the plate, and they're not trying to do too much with it. They're taking advantage of those mistakes. They're putting the bat on the ball, and the ball's carrying to the gaps over the walls. I love what this offense is doing.
What kind of advice do you think Jordan Walker has been getting that's caused this drastically good offensive change in his game? Because he's gotten a lot of advice over the years, but why now did something finally sink in?
Yeah, I think, to his, testament to him, I think he's just believing in himself a lot more. I think it's his confidence level is through the roof, and the coaches around him are feeding into that confidence. They're telling him what they're seeing, and Walker's taking it and running with it. I love what he's doing. I love how he looks at the plate, but even more importantly, he's playing amazing defense out there in right field. He's got an absolute cannon for an arm. He's just a well-rounded player, and it's showing off, so far this year.
And one of the other things, Matt, was not whenever, but many times when he would go into a slump, he would change his stance. He looks the same with that upright stance every time he steps to the plate now.
Yeah, I to your point, Ramey, that's huge. For a guy like Walker, who's changed, it almost seemed like a bat to a bat the previous seasons. What he's doing this year, whether he doesn't have a great game, if he goes 0 for 4, 1 for 4, he's not changing. He's tying that confidence into his setup, into his routine, and it's working for him. So I would tell him just keep doing what he's doing, and I think that's what the coaches around him are telling him. Keep trusting himself and keep doing what's working.
Okay, I want to talk about another former Cardinal first-rounder. That's Nolan Gorman. As a lefty power hitter, as you are, can you give us a scouting report on him? What do you think of him?
Yeah, I love him as a player. I think he's improved drastically defensively. He's more athletic than what a lot of people give him credit for. But in the box, he's just a natural power hitting left-handed bat that can hit the ball out to all fields. But his power is to the pull side. He will, if you leave a ball out over the middle part of the plate, even down in the zone a little bit, he's going to make you pay. But what gets him in trouble is he gets in swing mode so much, and he thinks he can do damage with every pitch, where he starts chasing that high velocity fastball up at the letters, and then good sequencing of off speed pitches down in the zone. That's what's going to get him. But I think he's done a great job. I think looking at his numbers last night, he's right around career best in average, and the slug. We want to see the slug be a little bit higher, but I think he's building on that. He's tying his confidence into what he's doing night in and night out. And I think over the course of a season, if he keeps sticking what's good for Nolan, I think he's going to be there at the end of the season.
And you made the point about the group. Last year, maybe trying too hard. I get the sense that when Nolan is swinging for the fences, that's when he runs into trouble, because he doesn't need to swing hard to hit the ball hard, does he?
No, he's, if he takes that nice, effortless swing, the ball's going to jump off that bat, and we've seen it. So I think if he stays within himself, nice, smooth, easy swing to the ball, that's going to help him make better contact. He's not going to swing and miss as much. And to your point, Randy, the ball's going to jump off that bat, where he doesn't need to try to add any more power to that swing. Just make contact to get through the baseball, and the ball's going to fly.
Now, both of those guys, Gorman and Walker, have had ups and downs. You yourself had ups and downs throughout your career. In fact, every baseball player has ups and downs throughout their career. But as I sit here and I listen to you respond and I think about messaging, is there ever, every player is different, but is there ever a message that universally works across the board with players in order to help fix things?
It's tough because everybody does things a little bit differently. They may set up differently. Everybody's different in the sense of their mindset. So what may work for myself may not work for Nolan or J-Walk, those guys. But I think to your point, I think it's great with what the coaching staff's been doing so far this year. They know how to communicate with each individual player, and you're seeing that night in and night out, where those guys are stepping foot onto that field with a ton of confidence, and they're going out and playing great baseball. So I don't know what the messaging is inside that clubhouse, but Ollie's a great baseball guy. You got Yachty there now. You got John Jay, Descalzo, Brian Brown. Like those guys, those are all great baseball minds that are together in the clubhouse, that they're going to know how to communicate with the young group of guys that they got inside that clubhouse to get them ready to go out and perform on a night in and night out basis.
Now, Matt, was there ever a time where the outside world had low expectations and your team, a team that you were a part of, overperformed?
Not any of the Cardinals teams, but when you ask that question, a lot of where my mind goes is the 2019 World Series team with the Nationals. We started 19-32, and before the season even started, everybody kind of wrote us off as one of the worst teams in baseball. So that team, if we would have bought into the external noise and how everybody thought that we were one of the worst teams in baseball, we wouldn't have been holding that World Series trophy at the end of the year, on Houston's home field. So I think the Cardinals are doing a great job this year of not buying into the external noise before the season started. And, they're tied for second in one of the best divisions, if not the best division in baseball right now. So, kudos to them to, eliminating the external noise and just going out there and playing the game that they want to play.
I've never asked you this, and I never thought of it until now. What did you say or do in the dugout when Howie Kendrick came back from hitting that home run off of Kershaw?
I think I just gave him a big hug and picked him up off the ground. No, I think, it was a little bit of messaging where he's smiling. He's like, okay, I got him now too. It was kind of cool. Howie was one of the top-notch teammates that I ever got to, share the field with. And that was a cool moment. And for us to be able to homer off one of the best left-handed pitchers in the game of baseball, that was something that I'll hold close, moving forward.
Hey, Matt, I love to talk to hitters like you because you've been that guy off of the bench in your career. And we're watching Thomas Saggese, and people are complaining about Saggese, who's got something like 60 at-bats or something. I don't even know if he has that many. And Cesar Prieto, who barely plays. Can you just give an idea of how difficult it is to come off the bench in the seventh inning or later and try to get a pinch hit?
Yeah, I think fans need to just, take a chill pill a little bit. 'Cause, hitting even whenever you're an everyday player, hitting is really hard. You look at you look at some of the game's best, they're hitting below, 240, 250 right now. And, and then you fast forward to a guy or, a couple guys that aren't getting everyday at bats to get thrown in the seventh, eighth, ninth inning where they're facing, the team's best relievers, 98 plus with nasty movement. It's hard. And, the biggest thing that helped myself in that situation was you got to come up with a routine where you kind of like taking a bat like in the cage where you challenge yourself in that routine, getting ready. Whoever's out in the bullpen warming up, you try to emulate their stuff off a pitching machine, or you have one of the coaches throw firm BP where you're close to the L screen. Anything where you can challenge yourself to where you step foot into that box, you feel like you're ready to go from pitch one, because that's the only at bat you're going to get that night. So you got to be ready to go as soon as you step foot into that batter's box. You got to be ready to go from pitch one, and you just got to battle. For me, that's the biggest word that I used for myself was just go to battle, go to grind it out, battle it out, fight, and just you got to believe that you're better than that pitcher standing out on the mound.
And as a follow-up to that, this might sound like a dumb question on the surface, so forgive me in advance. But when I think of a young player like Jimmy Crooks, Josh Baez, Blaze Jordan, would you rather be a bench guy getting very limited time or an everyday player in AAA waiting for consistent pro action?
I don't know if I'm the right guy to ask for that because I kind of made a career out of being a bench guy. So I would choose to be the first left-handed bat off the bench in the big leagues over being in AAA any day. But for guys like that who they're some of the game's top prospects. You want them to be able to develop, and you want them to be able to get every day at bats. And right now, the roster just doesn't call for them to get every day at bats at the major league level. So they're learning, down at the AAA level. They're honing their craft. They're making sure that everybody knows what they're capable of doing, and they're all off to great starts. So I just think the biggest thing for them is keep going about it the same way that you have been all year. And when your name's called, you're going to be ready to produce. But for myself, I enjoyed that bench role. I enjoyed, making a career out of that role. And then, every third to fourth day I would get a start, and I loved it. So for me, I'm choosing the bench in the big leagues over AAA any day.
Matt, another way to ask the question is Ritz-Carlton or Holiday Inn Express?
Yes, for sure. I'm choosing the bench at the Ritz over the Holiday Inn Express.
What if you get the penthouse though at the Holiday Inn Express and you get bottom floor of the Ritz?
I think your own king bed at the Ritz is still better than the penthouse at the Holiday Inn Express.
You get free breakfast though.
Yeah, but if you're in the big leagues, you're able to enjoy that nice breakfast at the Ritz.
You would know.
You're taking your coffee back to your room and getting ready to go play Major League Baseball games. So that hits a little bit different.
Hey, last thing, the Cardinals don't see Paul Skeens, who they hit pretty well, but who was the pitcher that Matt Adams wanted to avoid at all costs?
Yeah, great question. Probably Madison Bumgarner. Tough left-on-left matchup, low three-quarter arm slot. Everything was basically coming from behind me, even if it was a strike, so it looked like the ball was going to hit me. So I just had to tell myself to stay in there and trust that it was going to get over the plate, and took a good swing at it. But he had nasty stuff. He'd run that hard two-seamer in on my hands, and then he would throw that nasty sweeper down and away. He did an amazing job of just keeping me off balance, and glad that I didn't have to face him too much. But I did get him in the playoffs the same year. I think 2014 was just a magical year for me. Mm-hmm. Got Kershaw, got Mad Bum the next series, so got two of the game's toughest left-handed pitchers. But I would like to avoid Mad Bum at all costs.
See, and that hit against Mad Bum was top of mind for me. And I looked it up, and I understand that the game is hard. Do you remember getting any hits against Seth Lugo?
Oh, yeah.
You do? You were 0 for 12 against him, man.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang, I thought I had I was close. I almost hit a pinch hit homer in that, I think 2018 opening day. I faced him. I got the call. He hung the curveball and flew out the warning track. So maybe that's where my mind's going. But he's
a positive. I like that.
Yeah. But he's another one. He's a 4-pitch pitcher that's very, very tough. But I'm choosing Mad Bum all day.
So, and next time we're going to talk about who you had absolute ownage of in your career.
Sounds great.
Matt, as always, great stuff. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
See you later.
That is Matt Adams. Always great to have him on the show. He's fun, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Blast.
Coming up in the list, our biggest upsets in FBS versus FCS, or Power 5 versus non-Power 5. That's with Mizzou getting ready to play SLU in November. It's next in the fight. As you know, Mizzou and St. Louis University are going to play at Enterprise Center on November 6th. Looking forward to that. But in the spirit of Mizzou SLU, our favorite non-con mid-major regular season upsets in sports. And I will get things started with one that actually victimized the University of Missouri back in November of 2014, the first game ever for Kim Anderson. And UMKC stunned Mizzou 69-61. UMKC used two 10-2 runs in the opening half. They built a 33-24 halftime lead and then nursed that advantage throughout the final 20 minutes. The Kangaroos had last beaten a power conference team in December of 2003. This was 11 years after that, and they hadn't finished above 500 in a season since 04-05. So it had been 9 years since they had a winning record, and they come in and beat Mizzou in their opener in Kim Anderson's first game. Missouri led for just 34 seconds in the game, and Anderson never recovered. He won 9 games with the Tigers in his first year, and he was fired after 3 seasons.
Whew. Yeah, that is a hard one to get past. UMKC, not a team you're supposed to lose. In fact, probably a team that got paid a little bit of money to go over and play at Mizzou.
So, yeah.
But you know what? That is just the perfect example of how a basketball game can go any different way. It's a game of runs. Any player can get hot at any given moment. And if you find yourself behind, you feel the pressure as if you're playing Duke, even if their name is UMKC.
Yeah, it was Devastating loss for Missouri, though. You just cannot lose if you're them. That's like losing to UMSL, right? And with all due respect to UMSL, but they shouldn't beat Missouri.
100%. Okay, my number 3. And I begin with the Texas State Bobcats.
Oh.
They shocked.
That sounds like a team from a sitcom, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It does seem like a team that is not an actual team. But here they are playing an FBS opponent, and that was Houston. And they were 35-point underdogs in 2012. Well, one of the great welcome to FBS moments here, because this was their first ever FBS game. College football, Texas State was playing its very first game. They just jumped up from FCS ranks. Houston was just 13-1. Case Keenum had a crazy year in 2011. Kevin Sumlin just bounced for Texas A&M. And nobody expected the Bobcats to hang around, much less dominate. But Dennis Franchioni's group controlled the game from the jump. They outgained Houston 444 to 326. They held the ball for a staggering 43 minutes and limited the Cougars to 1 for 13 on third down. Marcus Curry became a legend that night. He ran for 131 rushing yards and 3 scores, while quarterback Sean Rutherford calmly ran the offense like Texas State belonged in the field all along. But here's the craziest part. This wasn't some fluky last-second miracle. The Bobcats won by 17. They started as 35-point underdogs and won their first ever FBS game by 17 to a team that probably should have been playing for a BCS Bowl the year before.
And you have a guy like Francione. He had coached at Alabama. He had coached at Texas A&M. Good coach, and obviously just did his job against Houston that year. Wow.
Can't lose that game.
All right. Another game you can't lose. Well, maybe you can because you're Kansas. And in 2018, the Jayhawks lost at home to Nicholls State. Now, when you pay a team $400,000 to come and play you at your place, you expect them to be compliant and, well, lose. Well, Nicholls State didn't get the memo in their 2018 opener at KU. The Jayhawks scored a touchdown with 4.5 minutes left to go up 20-17. But using just 9 plays, Nicholls State marched down the field and forced overtime with this game-tying 43-yard field goal. In overtime, Chase Forcade, the quarterback, ran in from 4 yards out. Here's Chase into the end zone for the touchdown. And the Colonels prevailed over the Jayhawks 26-23 in both teams' season opener. KU would go 3-9 and fire coach David Beatty, and he'd be replaced by former LSU coach Les Miles, who went 3-18 in 2.5 seasons at KU before being fired himself. Nicholls State beats KU at KU.
I don't think I could even tell you where Nicholls State is located.
Neither. Yeah.
But I'm sure Kansas has that burned in their brain.
Yeah.
And don't worry, KU fans out there. I watched Georgia Southern beat Nebraska.
Well, hey, Mizzou lost their homecoming game to Middle Tennessee State a few years ago.
Yeah, so sometimes that does happen. All right, my number 2. Another school I don't know if I could locate on a map. Howard over UNLV back in 2017 still stands as the biggest point spread upset in modern college football history. Howard was a 45.5-point underdog, walking into Las Vegas and leaving with a win nobody saw coming. They were an FCS program that had gone just 2-9 the year before. They were paid nearly $600,000 just to play this game, and UNLV was just expected to cruise. But instead, Kalen Newton, younger brother of Cam Newton, delivered one of the greatest individual performances ever by an underdog quarterback. He accounted for 330 total yards. He rushed for 190 and 2 touchdowns. His late fourth quarter touchdown gave the Bison the lead for good and a stunning 43-40 shootout. Howard scored 21 points in the fourth quarter alone and never looked intimidated by the moment. Wow. For one afternoon in Vegas, Randy, a little-known HBCU program pulled off the kind of upset that sounded impossible before kickoff. So good that we're still talking about it nearly a decade later.
That's amazing, and that was a fun game to watch. But the granddaddy of them all is my number 1. And it's Appalachian State over Michigan in 2007. It began with a strong first half for App State. Quarterback Armani Edwards led them to a 28-17 lead, but Michigan rebounded. They took the lead at 32-31 with a few minutes left in the fourth quarter. They could have been up 4, but it had a field goal blocked. Well, Edwards leads App State to this field goal with 26 seconds left. They set it up, and a short field goal try, and it looks like from this angle, you're probably not going to hit it. But the App State kicker does, and boom. Oh, no, that's the blocked field goal. No, that's the winner.
Yep.
That's the winner for App State. And then Michigan rallied. Chad Henne was their quarterback. He goes to Mario Manningham. And this sets up for another field goal try after they had 1 field goal blocked. And you're thinking, okay, Michigan's going to be able to pull this off. Whew. Thank goodness, because you can't lose to App State at home. So he's going to spike the ball, Henny's going to stop the clock. We're going to set up for another field goal. Manningham is happy. This is easy, no problem. We had one blocked. We got all those problems fixed. And, oh no, App State blocks another one. They block another one. And they're going to rumble down inside the 20-yard line, and time is going to run out. And Appalachian State is going to win at Michigan in the opener, 34-32. The Michigan fans beside themselves, as you might guess. And it was revealed many years later that many of the Michigan players had gotten high the night before, thinking, oh, this is just going to be a walkover. And they were stoned during this 34-32 loss during the game to App State.
I'm sure App State did some fun activities after this win.
Did.
I feel like that's what you're supposed to do, right? Is wait until the very end of a game to celebrate versus write somebody off.
2 blocked field goals, too.
Yeah, that was one heck of a block there. Unblocked coming off the edge. Nobody touched that guy.
Amazing.
That ended up blocking it and picking it up and running it all the way down to, say, the 5-yard line. All right, so you just mentioned Michigan, right?
Yep.
And it had me thinking, man, Michigan, I feel like they've had another bad upset in the past.
Sorry, Wolverines.
So I'm going to take you, Randy, to December 6th, 2024, very recently. NJIT facing number 17 Michigan on the hardwood, And Michigan, just 2 seasons removed from playing for the national title, had future NBA players, Karis LeVert, Derek Walton, plus a newly renovated arena featuring luxury boxes and even an indoor waterfall. Okay, that matters because NJIT was the only independent team in Division I. They played their home games in a 1,500-seat campus fitness center and no future NBA players. And even Highlanders coach Jim Engels admitted he had basically penciled this game in as a loss before the season. But Damon Lynn came out and scored 20 points. NJIT drilled 11 threes, even in a game where LeVert scored 32. The Highlanders never blinked. Lynn hit a go-ahead 3 with under 3 minutes left before Daquan Holiday sealed it at the free throw line. It was the first time NJIT had ever played a ranked opponent, and they beat them. The bench poured onto the court. It was one of the greatest sports David versus Goliath moments. I said 2024. I believe it was 2014.
Okay. Is NJIT New Jersey Institute of Technology?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
And now they're in the
together.
American Conference, I believe.
Wow. Sorry, Michigan. You got our last 2. You Wolverine fans. Yeah, but you know what? Hey, you won the championship this year, so be happy about that.
Yeah, that's a win. Yeah, Dusty May's a great coach.
Nothing wrong with that. There you have our list here in the fight. And coming up, we're going to build a little parlay for you. We've got some risky business coming your way here on Matrix Midwest. We did it. We did it. We did it.
Yeah, we did.
Oh. Thank you, Zach Bolduc of the Montreal Canadiens, the former Blue, pays attention, watches the fight every day on the Matrix Midwest app.
I wonder what the time zone is what the time change is for him up in Montreal.
Just 1 hour.
Is it really?
Yeah, they're in the
Only
Eastern
1
time
hour?
zone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, he watched. He scored a goal, and then thank you, Don Mattingly. He didn't play
Kyle Schwarber.
So and we were able to win our parlay.
You negate Kyle Schwarber. You only play the plus 650, which means you still got paid $650 on a $100 play.
Not too bad.
Attaboy, Bolduc.
All right, I'm going to start with this because we mentioned that Victor Wembanyama scored 41 in Game 1 against OKC. And if you haven't seen him, you have to watch this series because the guy is unstoppable. By the way, I think you'll probably be able to see him in the finals too. But take advantage of the opportunity to see one of the all-time greats. 41 in the opener. He's going to score at least 30 in Game 2. So I'm going with...
that's Shea.
Sorry, I'm going with Victor.
Woo!
To score 30 plus at plus 267. He'll score 30 again against them. He's unstoppable. So Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs, Game 2 against OKC, plus 267 is where we start.
Chet really struggles to guard him.
Everybody does.
Yeah, but Chet seems like a guy that is lanky enough to guard him, and he just
you'd
can't.
think so. He's 7'4", and you have to guard him from the 28 feet, the 28-foot three. He can play inside. He can shoot the 15-footer. He's unguardable.
So Game 1 here of the Western Conference Finals, Colorado, Vegas. This game in Colorado. Pay attention to that because we stay in Colorado when we pick who's going to score. Zach Bolduc did it for us in Game 1. We go all the way down and find our boy Cale Makar to be that player in Game 1 of this series because Cale's one of those guys that's always on the ice. Whether it's the first power play or whether it's just spending a lot of time with that first line of Nathan McKinnon and Nashis, he will find a way to sneak in and either get the goal himself or right at the top of the blue line, that slap shot he has, woo, I want to get out of that
I love that play. But another guy, if you're going to go outside, and I know you always want to do our parlay, but if you want to do your own thing, here's an interesting guy here. Barbashev always plays well against Colorado at plus 400.
Former Blues.
Yep, and he's a playoff player, and he's had a good playoff. So keep an eye on Barbie, too.
Not to be confused with John Kelly here for
Parker,
the Kings.
Yeah.
So don't pick him because he's not the same guy.
All right. So we've got plus 267 on Wemby. We've got plus 330 on Makar, and we're going to put $100 on it. And this is going to be quite the parlay, paying out $1,578.10.
We've got money to play with after last night's win.
We sure do.
Why not?
How about that? That's very impressive. And that is our bet, our little risky business today as we build a parlay for you here on The Fight. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. We've got Story Time with Uncle Randy, and we've got Today in Sports History. Stick around. All right, it's time for Take It or Leave It here in The Fight. And in a lawsuit, Andrew, filed against the NCAA, former Cincinnati and now Texas Tech quarterback Brandon Sorsby admitted that he did gamble. He wagered on Major League Baseball. He wagered on UFC. He wagered on tennis. He wagered on Romanian soccer. He bet on Turkish basketball and even on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Take it or leave it. You're wondering why he didn't take a foray with Randy into table tennis elite on DraftKings.
Unfortunately, I don't know if he gets Matrix Midwest where he's from because he would bet with us every day if he had the possibility. I would absolutely take that because Randy follows table tennis like it's his job.
If you're going to be betting on Romanian soccer,
you might as well bet on table
Turkish
tennis.
Basketball, you might as well bet on table tennis. I mean, he got the same odds.
Such a degenerate. I like Brendan Sorsby even more now. He might be one of my favorite college football players because he's just like me.
But he might not be nearly as bright as you because here's a guy that just went into gambling rehab and he's suing because he wants to enter the NFL supplemental draft. The NFL isn't going to go within 10 miles of this guy with his gambling addiction.
Right, yeah. So, sorry, buddy. Your career is probably over in football. Maybe go coach high school. You can still bet and coach in high school.
Yep, you can.
Why not?
Yep. That's a good play for him.
Mine for you, Randy, is this. Kalshi, they labeled Nebraska head coach Matt Rule as the early favorite to win college football coach of the year.
I like this.
And I chuckled a little bit because I looked at it drop, and then I looked at it like 12 hours later, and his percentage points dropped 9 points. Ooh. So let's just say he's not the favorite anymore. But take it or leave it. It's not the offseason unless Nebraska is the preseason favorite for something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They got to be, we still remember the greatness of Nebraska, yeah. So
they're the favorite to win the Big Ten, Coach of the Year, all of that, right?
That's something. We got to get a Heisman Trophy winner.
You know what Kalshi neglected to look at?
What?
The schedule for Nebraska. Oh. This might be the hardest schedule they've had in the last 10 years.
Oh. See, I thought that they were just neglecting to look at the last 15 years.
Or then see, that could easily be the case too. But what maybe Kalshi is saying though is if he does overperform that schedule, then he has a good chance for Coach of the Year. But it's not going to happen.
Go Coach Rule. Come on, let's do it.
It's not happening.
That's Teal. Now it's time for
Story
time with Uncle Randy. Andrew's going to spin the wheel. We've got a year, we've got a sport, and we've got a story for you. And we're going to be, this is going to be close. It's going to be 2010s. We're going to go 2010. So 2010 to 2019 will be where this particular story comes from. And it's going to be 2010 to 2019 football. Okay. 2010 to 2019 football. Let's do a little, oh man, the Rams are so bad.
You're flooded with stories, good or bad.
Yeah, I am. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go a little bit more fun. 2013. 2013 was the year that the University of Missouri made it for the first time to the SEC championship game. And they played a game against Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M where they clinched a spot in the SEC championship game. Nobody thought that they would be able to do it, but Gary Pinkel's Tigers were sensational, and they shut him down. They were able to contain Johnny Manziel, and the Tigers were able to come away with a shocking victory. And they were an underdog because of Manziel, and people thought, oh, Texas A&M is easily going to win this game. But the Tigers handled them, and a very impressive performance that led to the championship game against Alabama, where Missouri got drilled, but that doesn't matter. The fact of the matter was they won the East, and nobody expected them to in their third year in the Big 12, or in the SEC.
You know what's funny about that? This was only 13 years ago. And I don't remember that. And the fact that you could go all the way back 13 years or 33 years or 63 years and remember moments like this, I don't remember that one bit. So I appreciate a good story here on the show.
Oh, what an awesome night. And look, they just, Johnny was under siege. Now, he did throw the touchdown pass.
That was a great pass.
That was. But, Gary had a really good team that year, and they played really well. So I believe that was James Franklin.
I was just about to ask, James Franklin. Is that Macklin?
No, he would have been gone by then.
Okay.
So, but they had a ton of talent, and so congratulations to the University of Missouri for getting to the SEC championship game.
Let's see that again.
And
not the highlights, but I mean like getting back to the SEC championship game.
And we might not have the SEC championship game anymore, but there's like 5 schools. I think Ole Miss, Vanderbilt's never been to an SEC championship game. Arkansas's never been to an SEC championship. There are like 5 schools in the conference that have never been in a championship game. Yeah, amazing.
Well, they also have to play Alabama.
All right, time for this date in sports history. This is important. 2019, the Blues literally and figuratively pummeled the San Jose Sharks 5-0 in San Jose, just physically pounding them into submission. In Game 6, Joe Pavelski, Tomas Hertl, and Erik Karlsson were all out with injuries. But in this one, Blues got goals there from Oskar Sundqvist. That was a beauty. And then how about Jaden Schwartz? He's alone in front of the net and gets an opportunity. Sonny with the first one, and oh, baby. Sonny had a great year. That's why he was the favorite player of Craig Berube. And then there's Schwartz. He opened net, boom. And then Vladimir Tarasenko gets dragged down. Here's one that I had forgotten. Vladdy got dragged down as he had a breakaway, and he is awarded a penalty shot for that. You can't trip a guy when he's got a breakaway. So, and let's see a replay of him getting dragged down. Berube saying, no, he's got to get a penalty shot. There's the penalty shot awarded, and there's the infraction. And now let's
still
watch.
Almost scored.
Yeah, he would have. But here he is on the penalty shot, and Vladdy with the big move, the big shot, boom. 3-0 there. Blues win it 5-0. Then they come home, and like I said, no Hertl, no Karlsson, no Pavelski in Game 6. And Kelly Chase said even if they would have miraculously been able to win Game 6, they wouldn't have been able to ice a team for Game 7 because they were so beat up.
Right, yeah. Who cares about the hand pass game anymore?
Yeah.
All we care about is pummeling the Sharks.
Yeah, so the Blues would go on to the finals, and they would win in the finals as well, which was very cool. It's a great memory. We'll do a few more of those as we get to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Gosh,
on this date.
Just good vibes.
All right, we need you to know about one of the great things that we have here on Matrix Midwest, and that is Fastball. Every day, a 1-hour condensed version of the previous day's Cardinal game. It airs at noon and again at 4. Plus, we have the Cardinals and Reds on Friday night here on Matrix Midwest. That one is live. And tell your friends you see the fight with Carricker and Company every day at 5 and 10. The 5 o'clock showing right after Fastball. And then re-aired at 7 o'clock the next morning. And you can catch us on the Matrix Midwest app on demand whenever you want as well. And you can sign up to play in the fight by just going to matrixmidwest.com. Check out our website. It's cool.
Randy's on a 10-week winning streak. Will that come to an end?
We'll see. For Andrew Rogers and our director, Tyler Klaus, I'm Randy Carricker. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time here in the fight. So long, everyone.